All right, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome all the Apex community in East and Central Africa. And if you are from another part of Africa, if you are from West Africa, South Africa, North Africa, any part of Africa, you are always welcome to join. We thought that we wanted to start small and then grow bigger. And because we have a very active member from the Apex community in East and Central Africa, who's with us today, Nicholas Muratha, I would like to thank you for being here. And he's going to talk about what we will be doing in this series of Apex dedicated to this region. Hence, the link is bit.ly/Apex in Africa. And this is the first session in the series. My name is Salim Hlayel. I am a principal product manager for the Oracle Application Express. And I will start by giving you a simple overview about Apex, how you can utilize it, how we proposition Apex in our cloud, how you can use it to your advantage, and then pass it to Nicholas to talk about the community sessions and activities that he will be providing. And sure, if you would like to be part of it, if you'd like to talk, if you would like to have a session, your own session, or you would like to join another person, and if you are from this region, from East and Central Africa or any other part of Africa, please, you are welcome. Just contact me or contact Nicholas at any time. If you have any question, I'd like to remind you, just make sure that you put it in the Q&A section, and we will try our best to answer all of them by the end of today's session. Great. So let me start by talking a little bit about traditional application development. That has multiple challenges, to be honest. And one of the challenges that you have is the dependency on the professional talent. If you want to build a solution, you would actually like to hire a person who knows the technology and who can do it for you. It could be .NET, could be C#, PHP, ASP.NET, and so on. And it's not only the application development that you need to worry about. You need to worry about the full stack, like the database part, the middle tier, and the client, and so on. This has been leading and traditionally to a long development cycle, which is an unacceptable time to market your solution. It causes a huge application backlog. Your organization or business has so many requirements, and you want to build those applications in no time. And the problem is you don't have enough professional people. You need to still hire them, and you need to look for good people, and you need to establish your solution and build it and start development, which takes a long time. You don't have time to do that, and you ended up having a huge application backlog. This will be expensive to build and maintain an entire application, right? And the problem with this kind of model is the development model actually lacks the agility. That's what led to low code. What is the definition of low code? It's basically an alternative to traditionally code. Instead of writing a lot of code, you just write a little bit of code to achieve the same requirements. So you have the quality in mind, you have the security, you have the scalability. At the same time, you do it in a fraction of the time. What people are talking about low code, Forrester.com, for example, they believe that low code is 10 times faster than traditional methods. Gartner believes that by the year 2024, low-code application development will be responsible for more than 65% of the application development activities. This is in almost 3 years from now. So more than 65% of the applications developed by 2024 will be actually built using low-code platforms. Gartner believes also that low-code platforms provides compelling productivity gains, not only for professional developers, also for citizen development and developers. Those people who are power users, those people who are not tech savvy, they don't know much of programming, but they want to contribute to the organization. So low-code platforms allows them to do that, having speed of delivery benefits. The market for low-code, it's a huge market. In 2019, it was estimated to be around $10.3 billion. And it is expected, the market growth rate is expected to be 31.1% in this current decade. And this is based on PS Market Research.com, which is actually kind of good, right? So now we're coming to Apex. Why we talk about Apex? Apex is a low-code development platform that enables you to build scalable and secure enterprise applications with world-class features. Now, the thing is, you can run Apex anywhere your Oracle database runs, whether it's on your data center, or on our cloud, Oracle cloud, somebody else's cloud, your own machine, laptop, on a virtual machine. We don't care. As long as you have an Oracle database, you actually have Oracle Apex. And it's not just a low-code platform. It is actually the low-code platform that has been selected by the customers. We won the award of Customer's Choice based on Gartner Peer Insight 2019. And we got it with distinction. That was in 2019. Again, in 2021, we actually got the same thing. We got the Customer's Choice with distinction again. We were actually the highest score of 4.9 among two other products who got the distinction, or the Customer's Choice, sorry. And we are the only vendor that scored above 80% in the 5-star category. We were also the highest recommended platform with around 96%. So people love us, whether they are rapid development developers, whether they are consultants, CTOs, or even architects and software engineers. Another definition for Apex is actually talking about the characteristic of Apex. This time is a bit graphical, is the whole app development IDE first is browser-based. So the whole thing, you don't need to install anything on your machine. You don't need to have a client software installed to start development. The same thing goes for the end product. The moment that you finish your application, the end product, the application itself, again, is accessible through a URL. All what you need is just a browser and URL. The app definitions are actually stored in the database as metadata. So we are basically not a code generator. Apex is not a code generator. We are a declarative, no code generation tool or platform. That's why it's super fast to do changes in Apex. The moment you save something in the metadata, your page will, or your items and regions and pages will get reflected right away. If you are building a solutions for data in the same database where Apex is installed in, the same Oracle database, we have a feature called zero latency. No other platform has it because the engine itself is installed in the Oracle database. So it's super fast to get data from the same database. It's almost 0.00003 of a second to fetch a record from the Oracle database where Apex is installed in the same database. So data processing done in the database itself. We provide a comprehensive low-code platform, tools to build, like the app builder, tools to write SQL and design modeling and data models, tools to interact with other team members of the application development, application gallery if you want to install some sample apps, RESTful services where you can expose and consume RESTful endpoints, object browser, data loading, monitoring your application, all these kind of things are available in the same place. So you don't have to go to a third party or access another product. It's from within Apex. Apex is everywhere. It's a no-cost, fully supported feature of the Oracle database. And by the word everywhere, as I said, we mean everywhere your Oracle database run. So for example, if you have an enterprise version of the Oracle database, it will work on it. If you have all supported DB, by the way, editions starting from release 11.2 until 21C, you can install Apex in all of these versions. So it is available for all the versions and all the editions, including the free one. We don't have any limit. We have, I think, the most relaxed licensing model ever. We don't have any limit on the number of developers, any limit on the number of end users, and any limit on the number of applications that you can create with Apex. There will be no extra cost at all. So you can have as many as you want. And it is available in all database cloud services. So if you want to go cloud, whether, as I said, Oracle Cloud or somebody else's cloud, as long as there is an Oracle database, you can actually utilize Apex. And it runs on-premise on Oracle Cloud and other clouds. But really, again, how much does it cost? Well, it can cost you nothing if you want to. If you go to the always free option of the Oracle Cloud, oracle.com/free, and you subscribe to the always free options only, you can have an autonomous database. You can have a database that's always free. It will never expire. And part of that database, Apex is there. It is pre-configured for you. You don't have to do anything to have it installed or configured. And we take care of the database, and we take care of the upgrade for Apex Engine as well. It is also available free on Oracle Express Edition. So you can download Oracle Express Edition on your laptop or on a server in your data center and install Apex there, and it will literally cost you nothing. So these two options are totally free. Thanks for the no-cost capability of Apex. It's fully supported feature of the database itself. So let's assume that you have an enterprise or standard edition database, the paid ones. Again, Apex is there, no extra cost. And it is supported. You can have a ticket, you can follow up, and we will fix it for you. Apex allows you to develop and customize and deliver very quickly. So we have a lot of pre-built controls for security, for authentication, for database interaction, for validation, for session management. All these are available for you declaratively, so you don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to develop. Or even if you needed to develop something and to write code, it will be only low code, not a lot of code. So you can go from development, you can take a prototype from development to customization, back to development until you are happy, and you can basically deliver that prototype and make it a production. The user interface for Apex, or for the end product for the application built using Apex, can run on any device. So the same application that you designed for desktop will run on a tablet, and again, it will run on your mobile device, thanks to a theme called Universal Theme, which has a modern, intuitive, and accessible UI, and that can run and resize itself automatically based on the screen size. If you don't like the colors, if you don't like the theme and you want to change it, you can have full customization. You can fully customize it. It's 100% responsive theme. How can you use Apex? What are the use cases? There are plenty of use cases that you can use Apex for. One of them is the spreadsheet replacement. And that's a simple use case, but it's a very powerful one. Without writing a single line of code, you can take a spreadsheet, just dump it in Apex, and we will take the data. We will create that table for you. And you have a report, you have a form, you have charts, you have an app that can be centrally available. It is authenticated. It has different authorizations. So you have an administrator, you have a contributor right, you have a reader right, and so on. So you have all this with only a few clicks. So in a matter of 1 or 2 minutes, you can have your app running. And there is nothing wrong with spreadsheet, to be honest. It's just the problem is when you start using your spreadsheet as a database. It's very hard to share. It's error prone. People can make mistakes, manual mistakes. It's very hard to validate. But that's only one of the use cases. Other use cases could be writing opportunistic applications. Opportunistic applications are those applications that are, consist of a few pages. They are not that large, and people need them as soon as possible. Apex shines there. You can write an app in minutes, hours, or even days, but that's it. And your app, consisting of few pages and few tables, can be in production literally in days, or even less. You can use Apex also to do all sorts of process digitization. So anything that you do today on paper and you would like to go paperless, the nature of low code of Apex allows you to go to the digitalization quite fast. You can also use Apex for visualizing your data. Apex comes with the Jet visualization component, one of the open source products from Oracle, and it's an amazing library for all the types of charts you think of. Plus the different types of reports. We have classic reports, we have interactive report, we have interactive grid, we have the card region. We have so many visual components, very rich visual components that you can utilize to create an app in almost no time. Another use case is you can use Apex for forms replacement or forms modernization. So if you're using Oracle Forms, the best platform to move to is actually Apex. It's the native one. It's the most common sense one. Because you're coming from the same background, SQL, PL SQL, and this is all what Apex is about. So you can reuse all the code that you have in the database, or even in the forms if you like to, and replicate it again in Apex. You can use it to do external data sharing, so you can expose the REST endpoint, and you can build full enterprise web applications. Some people or some customers have actually written full ERP system using Apex. As we said before, you can actually have it as part of the always free in our cloud. And the offering there is called Oracle Autonomous Always Free. Oracle Autonomous Database is the latest and greatest database from Oracle. It runs by itself, it updates itself, it tunes itself. So you don't have to manage it. You don't need a DBA to manage that. And part of that solution, that part of that amazing database, Apex is there. It's pre-configured for you. So the moment that you provision an autonomous database, you have Apex right away. Actually, as a matter of fact, if you go to the Oracle Cloud Console, the first thing you see and the first page is a link to Introduction to Apex blog post. We did not stop there. We even created another Apex service. Why is that? Well, autonomous database, although it has the always free option, if you want to go paid, if you want to have more power, if you need more OCPUs and more storage than the limited one that comes with the always free, you need to pay money. And some customers said, well, it's a bit expensive. Don't you have a cheaper or a lower cost option? And this is where we come and we created an Apex service, an Oracle Apex application development service. It's much cheaper compared to the autonomous, and it's a subset of autonomous database. It runs on the autonomous database itself on the great hardware, the Exadata cloud infrastructure, and it has Apex pre-configured as well, but it is a paid one. It will cost you roughly between, I think, around $360 for one OCPU and 1 terabyte. But the good thing is, if that's not enough, if one OCPU and 1 terabyte is not enough, you can easily scale it up. So you can go up to 128 OCPUs and a petabyte of storage. So this one, you have an SLA, you have support, and you can actually scale it if you want to. Who is Apex good for? Is it only for developers? Not necessarily. So even if you have a business user, or some people like to call them citizen developer or power user, people who are not really that tech savvy, they don't know a lot of development, or they don't have a lot of development techniques, they can actually use Apex. It's a low-code platform, and in no time they can create something. They can take the spreadsheets, learn a little bit of SQL, and change the app, and there you go. Students can use it to actually do some projects for their education. And hobbyists who have an idea that we want to implement, they can utilize Apex as well. We are the world's most popular enterprise low-code environment. We have over 500,000 developers worldwide. We have more than 6,000 new applications created every single day, and we have millions of applications already. This is the great community, which you are part of, by the way. And let me be honest with you, Apex community is not like any other community. They are the happiest, really, because the product is great. And because of the community, we are successful. How we use Apex in action? We use it to build the therapeutic learning system during the COVID-19, the start of the COVID-19. And we built this actually for the government of USA. And we had very tiny and limited time to come up with the app. I think we finished this in less than 7 days. And it's not the only app. So we built a document management system, patient management system, and so on. Internally, we use it. So inside Oracle, we have literally thousands of applications built using Apex. One of them is the area people, for example, which is a very responsive application. I think we have an average of 1.5 million page views per day. Every single employee in Oracle use that application to look for people. And it has a maiden execution time of 0.04 seconds. We have plenty of customers who use Apex. A large customer, Vodafone, for example, is using Apex to manage the entire infrastructure lifecycle from provisioning to retirement. and they found that they can develop application with minimal coding using Apex. MineSense, a big customer again in the digital mining domain, they use our cloud, and they found that by using Apex, they could cut the development from 6 weeks to 1 week only. Siemens, they found that using Apex, they could, and our Oracle Cloud, they could come up with a production application in just 2 weeks. And they found that they could save actually 90% of the cost by going with Autonomous and Apex. If you want to get started, please make sure that you follow these links, apex.oracle.com, and the community website that built by the community for the community, which is apex.world. I think that's it from me. I would like now to pass it for, sure, I think Richmond, he asked about the presentation. We will have the whole thing recorded so you can have the session. So now I'll stop the share, and Nicholas will talk about what kind of activities you guys will be having in this kind of series for East and Central Africa. And he will also show us a demo for Apex.
Okay, thank you so much, Salim, for that detailed intro on Apex. And I think for me, I'll just go straight to East and Central Africa. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for starting the community. I think we are the team that is starting the community. So my name is Nicholas Muratha, and I'm an Oracle Application Express product consultant in Nairobi. And yeah, we are here in East Africa, and that's a beautiful map of Africa. And you can see where I'm located in Nairobi. But going forward, I think we might go around the other East African countries just to make sure that we bring the awareness. And why Nairobi? I wanted to bring something very unique for Nairobi, especially the Nairobi National Park, which is one of the unique national park we have next to a city, or part of it within a city, which covers around 17.21 kilometers squared. And that's a unique thing that we need to be proud of as East and Central Africa. Okay, so why Apex and why Africa? I need to answer this question. For me, I think Apex over the decades, it has been gaining a lot of ground as the world's most popular low-code platform for enterprise app. I think you have seen what Salim was able to present. And for us in Africa, we have an opportunity to become part of the most vibrant global and growing community Oracle has. And guess what? That's the Oracle Apex. So I'll quickly just talk about my journey around Oracle Apex. And I'll be answering around 5 questions that made me discover and fall in love with Apex. And number 1, what next after Oracle Form and Reports? I grew up traditionally loving Oracle Forms and Reports. And I knew one day the technology will be distinct or it will be decommissioned, but what next after it? So that's when I started looking for alternative option, and that's how I found Oracle Apex. I also wanted what can make an app development, what can you use to make an app development fast, exciting, interesting, and fun? I loved Oracle Form and Reports, and I wanted something that can bring the same fun or even much better. And Oracle Apex was able to do that. Then how can I keep my Oracle database skills? I have a lot of knowledge around SQL and PLSQL, and I wanted to keep that. And that's why Oracle Apex was also a good option. Then the world was changing. We were moving away from the client-server application to more or less web-based and mobile app or mobile-enabled apps. And I needed something also that can do that. And also Oracle Apex answered that. And I remember for Oracle Forms and Reports, for the people who have experience with this, just deploying the application to run over the web was a total nightmare. You needed to do a lot of configuration. You needed to do a lot just to make sure that you achieve that. But Oracle Apex, out of the box, web-enabled and mobile app-enabled. Then how can I train and share knowledge? I love, for the people who have worked with me, colleagues, they know that I love sharing knowledge. I just love sharing and just being able to mentor my colleagues. Okay, so for East Africa, quickly, before I bore you with the PowerPoints, quick Africa, why East Africa? Why East and Central Africa? For us, we want to bring awareness, we want to build a community, we want to be in the bigger part of Oracle Apex community. And also we want to open opportunities for the upcoming tech guys or young guys. And who is involved? It's the community, talent pool from universities and college, Oracle and their partners. So they are all invited. And what do we bring into the table? We will be having the beginners tips. We'll be having use cases of what Apex can show. I know Salim was able to show some slides on what it has achieved so far. For East Africa, we need also to start building our story around Apex. And also we want to bring training opportunities and also consulting opportunities for Oracle Apex. And when and where? We will be having weekly beginners tip, and also a monthly or a quarterly webinar. We will decide on that. And definitely we will be online all throughout. Okay, so quickly I'll go to a demo. And in this demo, I don't know, Salim, I have how much time, but I need to make sure I can build an app from a spreadsheet, modify the app, test the app, deploy it, backup, and a surprise. We'll have a surprise after I'm done with the app. Okay, so quickly I'll go to my builder. I'm already accessing the autonomous cloud and Oracle database on the cloud, and I have an option to launch my Oracle Apex, which I'll be able to launch. I'd already created a user demo. I'll just log in. And this is the Apex builder. And as you can see, I have 0 application, a few tables, but I'll be able to create a table and an application, and we are going to run the application. So there are various ways of building the application. One of the use case I'm going to use is building an app from a spreadsheet. And all I'll do, I'll just come, click on create. I'll go to from a file. I can drag my spreadsheet. I can drag my delimited or text or JSON file, and I'm able to build an app from that. However, I'll be using a predefined sample set of data that Oracle Apex comes with. And given that I have a very good background on projects, I'll be picking projects and tasks, and I'll get a sample data set, a project, a task name, start date. These are the columns, end date, status, assigned to, cost, and budget. And I have all those rows. So I'll click next. And from this wizard, I'll be able to put a name. I'm creating a new table. I'll call it projects. And I want to make sure that I can create a table, load the data into that table from my sample data set from the spreadsheet. And I can see a table created, 73 rows inserted. And remember, we had a header for the project, the task, and all those columns have been created. So what can I do from here? I can either view the table or I can create my app. We want to create an app like immediately. So when I go to the app builder wizard, I get all these exciting things that Apex engine wants to do to me. And the first thing, it has already prompted a name for my app. It has created a few pages for me. The engine was able to analyze the data and created a few pages. I have a home page, I have a dashboard, I have a search, and a report, and also a calendar. And also I'm given option to just add additional feature, and add page configuration, page controls, feedback, all these features. Apex is able to prompt me to select from an option. And there's a lot I can do from here, but I'll just select all. and I'll say create application. So it's low code. So what the engine is doing, it's not generating any code it's not generating any code. It's just creating my app, my metadata for my app, the definition of these pages, the components within those pages, and the features that I've selected. And wow, I already have an app. Just like that, I already have an app. So I have around 29 pages or forms that have been created by the app, by the engine automatically. And guess what? I can just go ahead and run my app and log in. And automatically I have an app within a minute or so. I already have an app. And remember the options that were given by the engine in terms of the page. I can access all those pages. I have a home page, I have a full dashboard, and even going further in the dashboard, the engine was able to analyze the data from the spreadsheet, and it was able to create for me a dashboard just automatically. And what we can do, we already have an app. What I can do, how do I modify this app? I might want to change my project's visualization from a bar chart to a donut, for example. And I'll just go to the app builder. I'll click on attributes, and I can change this to be a donut, and I can give it a title, maybe projects. And I'll go ahead and say under setting, I need to highlight and explode. I need to show the legend of that donut, and I'll say key, and I'll leave the position to be automatic. And then I can select the series. And from the series, I can enable the label, and I can say, I need to see the percentages and the values, and I'll save, and I'll run my app again. And automatically, I have this beautiful donut, and I can see the keys, and I can see how my projects are distributed. If I can just zoom out a bit, I think you can see, but I'll zoom in. You can see how my donut is, and I can drill down. I'll just zoom back to 100, and I can drill down per project. For example, I've selected the migrate from legacy server project, and I can see my 10 tasks that are there. Okay, I can go back to my dashboard. I can modify my status pie chart. I'll just click on the edit, quick edit, and automatically I'm taken to my region that has the chart. And what I'll do, I'll just make sure I can go to attributes. I can give it a title, which is status. And I can say setting, highlight and explode. I can select the series. Already the label is enabled, but I can select show percentage value. I'll save. And I'll run my app again. And my changes have taken effect. So that's the dashboard, and you can play around with this dashboard and just modify it from the predefined one that was done by the engine. And I'll go to the next page that was created, which is a search page. And you can see I already have a search, my facet search, whereby I quickly, if you have ever seen the e-commerce applications, they usually have the facet search where you can just quickly search your records. So I have the search on my facet search. I also have a table or a report that was created. It's a classic report, and we'll talk about that in details. And you can see I can be able to narrow down to my project legacy, which migrate from the legacy server, which has 10 records. I can see my 10 records as quickly as that. And there's a cascading effect, meaning that immediately I select my project, automatically these other facets are adjusted depending on the data that I have on my report. For example, it's just showing me the assigned to, the only people who are assigned in the 10 records. So it's able to limit your search to a precise result. Okay, so that's there. Then I can also visualize. I can quickly want to know from projects, how am I faring? And I can see, I can just click on the visualization button, which will give me an option of a bar chart and also a pie chart. And I can see how my LOV is distributed according to the records. Okay. And then now going to my report, I already have a report here that was built automatically, and I can just decide to maybe modify it. I don't like the date format. Maybe I might need to change the cost and budget format. So I'll just click on the quick edit. And I'll go to my report, which is a classic report. And I'll go to my start date and end date. And one of the things I can change the formats. So I'll go to the format mask and I say I need that format. I'll go to the cost and the budget. And I'll say I need to change this format. I need to add a currency sign. And I'll save. And automatically that is adjusted. My format is adjusted as quick as I can. I have my currency on my cost and budget figures. Okay, remember no code. I have not written any line of code, and that's the advantage of Oracle Apex. Then I have a report that was created, interactive report that was created, and there are several things I can do here. Number one, I can change the format of my dates again on this report. The first report was the classic one. I have just go and change the format. I can go to the cost and the budget and also add a currency sign on my amounts, and I save and I play. So that's how quickly you can modify your app, and to be specific, your interactive report. And from here, now I have my cost and I have my budget amount. I might want to track the variance. Okay, how quickly can I build or compute that? So I'll go to action, I'll go to data, I'll say compute. And I'll create a column called cost versus budget, column label. I'll give it a format mask, amount with a currency, and then I'll say it's my cost minus budget, and I'll apply. Now, what I'm doing, I'm more or less doing it from an end user, not a developer. It's from an end user. So this is the power an end user has when they're running the app. They can be able to modify their reports. So I got my column immediately for cost versus budget. And I can go further and say, any cost that is higher than my budget, I need to highlight it. So I'll go to my format, highlight, and I'll say cost versus budget. And it's a cell. I need to pick that cell or to identify that cell. And I'll give it a background of maybe blue. And I'll put a highlight condition. And I'll say when my cost versus budget is greater than 0. And immediately I do that, I'm able to pick where I'm overspending against my budget, where my cost is higher than my budget. So quickly I'm able to see or highlight those figures. And also I can go further and say, I need to total up my columns, the cost column. I need to see the total of my cost column. I need to see the total of my budget column. And quickly I can do that as an end user. I'll go to data, I'll say aggregate. I'll aggregate my costs, apply. I'll also go to data aggregate, and I'll select my budget and I'll apply. And what happens? Yeah, I can aggregate my columns. Okay. Then if I need to adjust, for example, I have my first record and I need to update the cost. How do I do that? The engine was able to create a dialog box, a dialog form where I can come and just adjust or update my records. And I can say my cost now is 3,000 and I'll apply. Sorry, where did my record go? I think I was able to apply 3,000. I think it has, let me just, I know the 3 against 2. Where's my record? Okay, I can try another one, maybe bug tracker. And I can say instead of 3,500, I'll say it's 4,500, apply. And automatically it was applied, and the cost versus budget was highlighted, because it means I've gone over budget with my cost against the budget I have. So those are the things you can do with your on the report, or you can modify. And lastly, also you can save. There's much more you can do, but I'll also want to save these changes so that anytime I access this report, I'm able to access those changes. And there we are. Okay, and if I want to add maybe a new task, I'll just be able to click on create, and I'm able to add my new task. I'll select the dates and everything that I need for my new task. So remember, the engine, the Apex engine was able to build all these forms, all these reports without any code. Then also I have a calendar that was created. Yeah, the engine was intelligent enough to know that I'm tracking tasks, and it was able to generate for me a calendar. And there are several things I might want to achieve with this calendar. Number one, I might need to see what are these activities. Yes, I can see them on the calendar, but how do I make sure that I can link them with the dialog form so that I can know what they are? And how do I do that? So I'll just edit my calendar quickly. And I'll go to attributes, and I'll say view edit link. I'll link it to a page, which is page number 5. And I'll select an item on the page that I'll pass the primary key, which is the ID. And I will clear cache as I access that page, and I click save, and I'll run. So what happened? If I go to my calendar, if I need to know more details against my task, I just click on the task, and automatically it has linked with the dialog form that the engine created. So I'm able to quickly see my task from the calendar, which is a better visual than a listing. And I can be able to update my tasks yeah, I'm able to attack. Then number 2, I might need to adjust. Instead of clicking, I want a better experience where I can just drag my task to adjust the dates, okay? Currently, that's not happening, but I need to make sure that that can happen. So how do I do that? Or how do I achieve that? So the first thing, I'll go and edit my calendar. Again, I'll go to attributes. And this time I'll go and say that I need a primary key column. I'll select that. It will enable this. I'll be able to see the drag and drop option of property. I'll enable it. And I have to apply a code here, which I'll just paste shortly. Copy, paste. And what does the PLSQL block do? So I'm just updating projects. I'm setting my start date, end date using the new start date and end date variables after I do my drag, and for which record, and I'll restrict to the ID of the specific record that I select. So I'll validate, click OK, I will save. And then when I run my app again, I can play around now with my tasks. I can adjust my tasks depending on the dates. So that's how fast you can achieve a better experience with that. Okay, I'll go also to the administration features that were embedded on the app. And the first one feature that I'll discuss is the theme style selector. And you might, as a user, you might want to have a different theme than the rest of the users. Maybe you prefer a blue theme, some people prefer a red one and all that. So I need to make sure users can customize their theme when they access the app, and I'll just enable that feature. Okay, number 2, access control. Currently, I only have one user. I only have one user in this app, and that's the demo user who's with the role of administrator. I might want you out there to access this app. So how do I do that? I'll come and enable any authenticated user may access the app. So I'll switch this to be on, and then I need to modify my app to access like Google. Like, for example, if you have a Google account, when you're authenticated by Google, automatically the app will allow you in or will authenticate you in. So how do we achieve that? So I'll go to the app and I'll go to the shared component and I'll go to web credential. I'd already created a web credential. I'll just click on it. I gave it a name called Google, static identifier Google, and authentication type, I selected Authent2. Okay, and from Google app APIs, I was able to get my username and password, which I've already done that, so I'll cancel. Then I'll go back to my shared item components, and then I'll go to authentication schemas. Currently, I only have the Application Express account authentication, but I need to add the Google authentication. So I'll create, or a customized authentication. So I'll create one, I'll give it a name Google, and then I'll say it's a social sign-in. I'll select my credential store from the web credential. Then I select authentication provider is Google, and I want profile, email, and I'll be able just to delete these variables and put a specific one for email. I want you to access with your email. So I'll put email there, and I will create authentication schema for Google. As you can see, by default, it's selected to be the current one, but no, I don't want it to be the current one. I still want to maintain the Application Express account. So I'll select it on edit. I'll set switch in session to be enabled so that I can switch between the two authentications I have. And then I'll go to my Application Express default authentication, and then I'll go and switch in session, enable that, and then I'll make it current scheme for authentication. Okay, when I run my app and I sign out, okay, I have a problem now. I only have my authentication, my default authentication for Oracle Apex. I need to add the Google one. So what do? I need to edit something here. I need to click on the button for editing. I'll duplicate the button, and then I'll give the duplicate Google, login Google, and the label will be Google. Okay, and then I need to make sure that there's a behavior. Under behavior, there's an action I'll do to access my home page. And I'll clear also cache. But I need to make sure that I'm able to tell this button that when you are clicked, the request is to access. It's to access the Google authentication, which we created. So I'll give it a request and I'll click OK and I'll save and I'll run. Now, when I run, I'll see the two, sign-in options. I'll see the two sign-off option. Just a minute. So I have the sign-in, Google sign-in, which I can click. And automatically I can see my Google sign-in, and I can select my email. And automatically I'm authenticated into the application. Now, I'll just sign out. I can still use my Oracle application sign-in. And I was able to allow end users to come in and customize their style. And I'll just customize my style and I'll select red, wood, light. And I get a different experience from a theme perspective. So I get a different experience and anyone can choose which experience they might want. So this is what I'll do. I'll be able to sign out and just share the URL with the attendee. I don't know if I'm allowed to share on the chat, Salim.
You should be able to share. Yeah.
Okay, let me just share on the chat. And anyone who has that link, you can test the app. Then finally, what I'll do, I need to beautify the login screen, and this is what I'll do. I'll just edit the screen, select the form, and I'll go to appearance and the template option. Page of clear, I'll just select the layout, the split, background, I select background 3 and I'll click OK. And I'll click save. And if I play, at least our sign-in screen is a bit beautified. And anyone who can click on the link from any device that you have, whether your laptop, whether your pad, whether your mobile phone, you will be able to access the app. And you can use the Google sign-in and you can just try it out. And lastly, how do we do a backup of the app? I might need to do a backup and just to save what I've done so far. So I'll go and click export. I'll go to the export wizard, click next. And I have default options that Apex has selected for me. And I'll just click my export button. And my file is exported. And I have my backup. Within a minute, I have my backup file, which I can store or even deploy in another instance of Apex service. Okay. And that's the end for today's demo. Any questions, Salim?
Yeah, there's a quick question. How do you use the dark theme?
Aha, excellent. That's a good question. So when you log in, let me log in using Google, because I'll get the default. So what you do, I've enabled end users to customize. When you log in, you'll see the customization for your theme style. You just click on it and I can select my dark and automatically it's saved. And this can happen both on the builder or on the app. Okay.
Perfect. Nice. I'd like actually to thank you, Nicholas, for the amazing demo. You were actually on time. And somebody's asking, is there an option to write raw code? Is there an option to write your own code?
Yes.
Because you've shown everything and didn't code much, right? It's a low-code platform, but it doesn't mean that you cannot write code, right? So that's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. And if you were keen enough, you could tell that when I was doing my drag and drop for the calendar, I was able to add a PLSQL block. If I can just go back there, I was able to add a PLSQL block. So meaning if you need to add your logic, more or less business logic, you are able to add that.
Yeah, and that was only in one of the attributes of the components. You can also add a process, you can add a validation, and you can utilize all the coding skills you have in SQL and PL/SQL. And even better, in 21C, we enabled something called MLE feature of the database, or multilingual engine. So you can start writing also server-side code in JavaScript, not only PL/SQL. So even if you are a fresh graduate, you don't know PL/SQL that much, if you use 21C and Oracle Apex 21C database, Oracle database, and Oracle Apex 20.2 and above, you will be able to write server-side JavaScript code in the processes, in the validation, anywhere where you can actually put code. So yes, it is a low-code platform, but it allows you to write code if you needed to, and if the requirement is asking you to do so. Amazing. Thank you very much, Nicholas. And I'd like to conclude by saying this is one of the communities that we have. We established so many communities in the past. We have one for the Middle East in Arabic, so Apex in Arabic. And we have Apex in Pakistan, a community dedicated to Pakistan region. We have Apex in India, another one for India. And we have Apex in Spanish for the South America. And finally, we have one for Africa, so Apex in Africa. And as I said, even if you are not from the east and central part of Africa, you are always welcome to join. Nicholas is from Kenya, so that's why we wanted to start, small. And the good thing about these kind of communities, they connect people to each other. You get the experts, you get the people who have ideas, you get the people who want to invest. You got the fresh developers, the students, everybody in the same region can get connected. That's the whole idea of establishing a new community. I'd like to thank you again, Nicholas, for the amazing demo, and for my beloved audience. Thank you. And hopefully we'll see you soon in the next session for Apex for East and Central Africa community. Thank you and have a good day. Don't forget to take that Telegram and YouTube QR code. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you. Thank you, Salim, and thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.